Good morning, everyone. I welcome you in this another session of power system stability. We are going to start the new topic, that is the stability analysis. We will be able to understand the concepts of stability, how the power system stability is been defined, what are the various criteria for the power system stability, how they are being evaluated on the various methods and techniques, and why it is so important for study. So, in this power system stability, we will be discussing about the definition of the stability. So, first of all, what is a stability? So, let me define you the tendency of a power system to develop restoring forces is equal to or greater than the disturbing forces to maintain the state of equilibrium. Or you can also say it is an ability to keep the machines in synchronism with another machines. Now we know that when there are two disturbances, when there are two types of disturbances, there might be a long-term disturbances or a short disturbances. So short disturbances are those which persist only for a smaller duration of time period. But the longer distance disturbances are those which persist for a longer duration of time period. So, for an example, uh, we know that these two machines have been connected in a power system. One is at the generator end, that is at a generator, and one more machine, synchronous machine, is connected at what? At the load end. Okay. Now, what is happening? Let me show you. Let me show to you. We have having one machine connected over here and one machine connected over here. Okay, and they are interconnected with there are they are interconnected. Okay, let this machine be the generator and this machine be the motor. Okay. So this both of these machines are synchronous machines. So we know that the synchronous machines are incoherent when the rotors of the synchronous machines are swinging coherently. Okay, they are swinging coherently, they are swinging with the same directions when they are connected to each other. Perhaps when there is a small disturbance in the system due to the sudden disconnection of the load or due to the sudden increase in the mechanical load of mechanical input to the turbine, or there is some kind of sudden disconnection of the large area of the load, which causes the difference in the voltage demand and the power, real and reactive power demands all of a sudden. So such type of disturbances causes the instability into the system. Okay, and if this instability in the system persists for a longer duration of time period, then they may completely hamper the system or damage the system, or else so that's all about the stability. Okay, that was a basic definition of a stability. Now the classification of stability. The stability is been classified into three ways: the steady state stability, dynamic stability, and the transient stability. The steady state stability is the one when the system is able to regain the synchronism after a small or slow disturbances, like a gradual power changes to the small load disturbances, okay, due to the dynamic loads and all. That comes under the steady state stability. That means if the system is able to come back into the its previous restoration point with just a small disturbances, then such type of system stability is called as a steady state stability. But in case we are having the large disturbances or the sudden changes with the large disturbances in the network conditions, Like for an example, removal of the loads. A large area of the load have been disconnected, or all of a sudden, and the line switching operations are there. We are having a faults on the systems, on the network, or the loss of excitation. Such type of large disturbances causes a large changes in the system, and the system, if the system able to restore from these types of transients, then it comes under the transient stability. Then the third type of the stability is the dynamic stability. The dynamic stability is the ability of the power system to regain the synchronism after small disturbances occurring for a longer time. Okay, that means for like the example, the turbine speed or change in the load. Or we can say the dynamic stability also includes those kinds of equipments or the power electronic devices which are helping out to, or which are helping out to maintain the stability of the system, and then it comes under the dynamic stability. Now the steady state stability limit, let's talk about the steady state limit. Now it is what, it is a maximum power that can be transferred without the system become unstable when the load is increased gradually under the steady state conditions. Okay, that means for an example, the maximum power that can be transferred without the system. Okay, for an example, it is defined by the P max. Okay, the P max is defined by the is the maximum power that can be transferred without the system become unstable. The transient limit is the maximum power that can be transferred without the system become unstable when the sudden or a large disturbance occurs. Okay, now let me show it to you. For an example, look at this. We have placed one ball over here. We have placed one ball over here, and the ball starts rotating, coming down over here. Now, after some point, if the inertia of the ball is sudden, is not enough to go beyond this point, but after this point, it comes back to this location. After some point, then after some time period, it's settled down at this location. Okay, so that is called as a steady state stability. Okay, and the transient stability is what? The transient limit. This is a limit. So this is a limit. Okay, so for a small disturbances for the steady state conditions, if the system comes back into the stable region, then it called as a steady state stability. But in case the large disturbances and then again the system becomes unstable when a sudden or large system becomes or large disturbance occurs. Okay, then such type of limits is called as a transient limits. Now, let's talk about the swing equation. So, what is the swing equation for a single machine infinite bus system? The equation governing the motion of the rotor of a synchronous machine is called as a swing equation, which has been defined by this equation that J dt2 d2 theta m by dt square is equal to Ta Tm minus Te, where Ta is your accelerating torque. Okay, that is your net accelerating torque. Te is your net electrical torque, and Tm is the mechanical torque. Okay, that is your mechanical torque in the Newton meters. Theta m is nothing but a singular displacement of the rotor. Okay, that means by how much angle the rotor is displaced from its reference axis. Then the J is the total moment of inertia of the rotor, which has been defined in the kg meter square. Now let's derive these equations in somewhat way. How to derive this equation? So before this, let me show you that how the what is a synchronous machine, what is a reference axis, and how the rotor is being defined. Now look at this. Look at the video. For an example, we are having a two machines. They are coherently rotating in the sync. These are the rotors. These are the rotor axes of the machine one and the machine two. Okay, both of these are machine synchronous machines. Let this be the generator and this be the machine. Okay, motor. and they are swinging coherently. Now, on an example, there is a disturbance at this, and they are look and these swinging of currently is not disturbed. So what will happen? So the axis, the axis, this is the rotor, this is the reference axis, and this is the rotor axis. So this is the angle theta between them. So in this case, the reference axis is either they may increase or either they may decrease. So this theta m may increase or decrease depending on the acceleration or deceleration of the rotor. Now, why the acceleration and deceleration of the rotor is going on? The acceleration and the deceleration of the rotor depends on whether the demand is being increased or the demand is being reduced. Okay, whether to increase the uh, power or to decrease the power as per the requirement of the load side. Okay. Now let's consider that theta m is equal to omega sm t plus t del m. Now I can differentiate with first order differentiation for respect to the t. Then I will be getting a t theta m by dt is equal to omega sm plus what d del m by dt. Now again, if I differentiate it with respect to the time period, I will be getting here d2 theta m upon dt square equal to d del m upon dt square. Okay. Now, the most important thing is that now j omega m can be written as j omega m d2 del m by dt square, which is equal to pm equal to pm minus p, where pa is the accelerating power and PE is your electrical power and PM is the shaft power input to the motor, input to the machine. The difference of the mechanical input power and the electrical power is your accelerating power. Now, for an example, this accelerating power may be positive or negative. Okay, that means if it is positive, that means the accelerating power is accelerating, and if the power is negative, then means it is deaccelerating. So when it will be negative in this case, when your electrical power will be more than the mechanical power, that means your mechanical power is lesser and electrical power is more. Now in that case, your accelerating power will be negative. Now what does it mean? It means that when the accelerating power is negative, that means you have to deaccelerate, you have to deaccelerate the rotor. Okay, that means the rotor is deaccelerating. It is speed is reducing. And if the input mechanical power is more than the electrical power, then your mechanical power, the rotor will start accelerating. Okay, so that's what. And because due to this only, the balanced power is being defined. So what is the balanced condition? That is PA is equal to zero. That means your accelerating power is zero. That is both electrical power and mechanical power are equal. Now we know that the j omega m can be written as a moment of inertia that is been defined by Einstein. If I replace this m with the j omega m in the previous equation, I will be able to write the previous equation as what d2 del m upon dt square. Okay, which is equal to PA equal to PM minus PE. Now I know that I can write this moment of inertia as 2h upon omega Sm into the current power of the machine. Okay, that is the S machine. That is the rating of the machine. Now, with the help of this, what we can do? With the help of this, what we can do? Let me substitute this value of m in the above equation, and I will be able to get it that 2h upon omega sm into d2 del m by dt square is equal to PA upon S machine and equal to PA upon rating of the machine and PM minus PE upon rating of the machine. So where what is H? H is the moment machine inertia constant. Okay, depends on the machine to machine, and it is varying from the one type of motor machine, synchronous machine to another type of synchronous machine. Now that's another part. Let's discuss on the same topic again. Come back. So 2h upon omega s is into d2 del by dt square is equal to PA, which is equal to PM minus PE. Now we know that the synchronous speed is been written by 2 pi f. Okay, which is in the hertz and it is the radian. So if I substitute this to omega s synchronous speed with the 2 pi f, then I will be writing as that pi of h upon pi f naught into d2 del by dt square equal to pm. Now what is happening? Now when I substitute this equation and I solve it and take these the left hand components of h upon pi f naught into the right hand side, then the equation becomes somewhat like this, that d2 del upon dt square equal to pi f naught upon h into pm minus p2 max sin del. Okay, what is p2 max sin del? This p2 max sin del is your electrical power. It is your maximum electrical power. Okay, so when I substitute this equation, I will be getting it equal to what? Pi f naught upon h into pa. Okay, so this is a value in per units where delta and omega s are in electrical radians. Now we know that d2 d del by dt is what? Deviation of speed. Okay, that is a deviation of speed. So if there is a speed deviation, that means the router will change its location from the reference axis. Now when it changes the speed with respect, when it will change, then the router will change its location from the reference axis. The delta will increase, and if the delta will increase, that is depending on the time period. So that's why it is d del by dt is equal to deviation of speed. So if I substitute this d del by dt over in the previous equation, I will be getting at that d delta del upon dt equal to pi f naught upon h into pa, or it is equal to nothing but d2 del by dt square. Okay. Now this is that was the equation for a single machine model. Now we know that we do not have any of the only two machines into the system. Perhaps we have the large number of synchronous machines interconnected in a power system network. Therefore, if we want to calculate the swing equation for multi-machine system, then how to do this? Let's see this. So let's see that the as machine is nothing but the machine rating, which is the base value, and as system defines the system base. Therefore, the inertia constant for the system base will be h system, and I substitute this value in the previous equation, standard swing equation, that is your h system upon pi f into d2 del by dt square, which is equal to pa, which is equal to pm minus pe per unit. Now this h system can be written as h machine into ratio of the machine rating base to the system base. Okay, that is the ratio of the system to the machine inertia constant is equal to the ratio of the machine to system inertia constants rate. Sorry, the ratio of the system to machine inertia constant will be equal to the ratio of the machine to system ratings of the system. Okay, that is your h system is equal to h machine into s machine upon h system. Now that was all about the stability. Now let's talk about the rotor angle stability. Now what is a rotor angle stability? So it is the ability of the interconnected synchronous machine of a power system to maintain in synchronism. The stability problem involves the study of the electromechanical oscillations inherent in the power system. Now there are two types of rotor angle stability. First is the small signal stability, or it is also called as steady state stability, and second is the transient stability. Okay, so what is the rotor angle stability? When we are having the machine to remains into the synchronism even after the small or the large electromechanical oscillations. Okay, that is your del. When we are maintaining the stability of the delta, that comes the angle of the rotor angle, then it is called as a rotor angle stability. And when we are trying to maintain the voltage of a power system, to maintain the voltage at a particular at a bus at all the buses in the system under normal operating conditions, that comes under the voltage stability. That means it is the ability of the power system It is the ability of the power system. That means it is the ability of the power system to maintain the steady state, to steady acceptance voltages of all the buses in the system under the normal operating conditions and after being subjected to a disturbance. The major factor of the instability is the inability of the power system to meet the demand for reactive power. Okay. Now let's talk about the stability in terms of the time period. Now first is the midterm stability. The midterm stability, when we are defining it, it represents the transition between the short term and the long term responses. That means the typical range for the time period is short term is 0 to 10 seconds and mid term is 10 to few seconds, and for long term it is few minutes to 10 minutes per tens of minutes. Now what does it mean? Now when the system become unstable, it takes some time period to restore it into the back normal operating conditions. Now, if the time period taken by the system to bring it into the normal operating condition is between 0 to 10 seconds, then it comes under the short term. And if it is taking from 10 seconds to few minutes, then it comes under the mid term. And a large number of tens of minutes or more than the minutes are being considered, large number of minutes or 10 minutes to few 5 minutes or 6 minutes are taking, then it comes under long term stability. Usually this in the long-term stability, it is associated with the inadequacy in the equipment responses. That means the equipment responses are not giving adequate responses. Then could be a cause of long-term instability, and the poor coordination of control and protection equipment. That means we are having the coordination of the protection equipments like the relays and the circuit breakers. If you are not having the coordination between the relays and the circuit breakers, and even within the primary and the backup relay coordinations, then it will make all the long-term instability. And also the third reason for the long-term instability is caused in the insufficient active or reactive power reserves. Okay. Now, there are few methods to calculate the stability or to identify the stability conditions, okay, of a system. Now, equal area criteria is one of the method to calculate the stability of the system. But there is a limitation that it is only applicable for the two machine model. For a large machine model, we cannot be able to implement this equal area criteria. So this is a very simple graphical method to predict the transient stability of the two machine system or a single machine against the infinite bus. So this criteria does not require string equation or solution of string equations to determine the stability conditions. Another thing is that the stability conditions are determined by equating the areas of segments on power angle diagram. That means I will show you some of the power angle diagrams and the power angle curves for the machine system, for the machine model system, to identify the equal areas of the two areas of the system before the post fault and the pre fault locations. Now look at this. This is a power angle for an equal area criteria. Look at this. There are two areas, area A1 and area A2, which are shaded in the graph. Now area A1 and A2 are the two areas which comes under the power angle curve. If the area of the area A1 are equal, then the system becomes stable. But if the area A1 is larger than the area A2, then then the system will become unstable. Okay. Now how to get these areas and all? Now from the last equation derived from the single equation, we can write the single equation as h omega s upon d2 del by dt square equal to pm minus pe. Okay, now what is that? If I multiply this d del by dt on both the sides, then the equation will become d by dt d del by dt square whole square equal to 2 d del by dt into d2 del by dt square. Now multiplying both the sides of our equation by the dt and then integrating between the two arbitrary values of delta naught and delta c, okay, will give me the area A1. That means if I integrate this area, if I start integrating from this region to this region delta, then I will be getting this region area A1. Okay, and this is your another region, that is your area A2. Now I can rewrite this equation as h upon omega s d del by dt square, and integrating the values from the delta naught to delta c. But delta naught to delta c are the initial value of the delta rotor angle, and the delta c is a critical rotor angle. That is, if the delta c is than more enough, then the system will become highly unstable and it will not be possible to bring the or restore the system back into its normal operating conditions. So once a fault occurs, the machine starts accelerating, and once the fault is cleared, the machine keeps on accelerating before it reaches its peak value at delta c. Okay, and the area of accelerating A1 is been given by integration from delta naught to delta c, where equal to Pm minus Pe d del equal to 0. Now look at this graph again. At this location, the motor will start accelerating. Okay, and it will keep up accelerating up to this point. And after this point, that motor will start deaccelerating. Okay, and after this point, the motor will start deaccelerating, but it will continue to rotate in the same direction because of the high moment of inertia. Okay, it will deaccelerate over here. So the area A1 is been given by this. If this area A1 is equal to 0, then it's been subtended equal to 0. And the area A2, area of the acceleration is A2, deceleration is been given by this, where it's integrating from delta C to delta M. Look at this. It is integrating from delta C to delta M for this finding this area. Okay. Now, if the two areas are equal, that means area A1 and area A2 are equal, then the power system will be unstable. But if the two areas are unequal, the power system will become unstable. Okay. Now, critical clearing angle. What is critical clearing angle? This is the delta CR. It is the maximum allowable value of the clearing time and angle of the system to remain stable are known as critical clearing time and critical clearing angle. So delta CR is represented as the critical clearing angle. So delta CR expression can be obtained by substituting this delta C is equal to delta CR. Now let this be the delta C be the critical clearing angle. Okay, beyond which the system will become unstable and will not be able to bring it to the restoration points. So in the equation, we are equating the area A1 and area A2 equal to, both are equal to each other, and the equations have been substituted like this. Now, for an example, if we substitute the electrical power become equal to 0 in the same equation, then your d2 del by dt is equal to omega s upon 2h into pm. And integrating the above equation d2 del by dt square from 0 to t omega s upon 2h into pm to dt will give me what? Omega s upon 2h into pmt. Now we can equate this delta is equal to 0 to 2 omega s upon 2h into pm into t dt. No, which is equal to omega s upon 4h pm t square plus delta dot. Now replacing this delta by delta cr and t by tcr in our equation, we will get the critical clearing time as what? Tcr is equal to what? Under root of 4 of h upon omega s into 2 pm into delta cr minus delta naught. Okay, so in this way we have calculated the critical clearing time, and if you would like to calculate the critical clearing angle, we can find out the value and so on. Okay, Now let's talk about the factors affecting the transient stability. Now, strength of the transmission network within the system and of the tie lines of the to the adjacent system, the characteristics of generating units including the inertia of rotating parts and electrical properties such as the transient reactance and magnetic saturation, characteristics of the stator and the rotor, the speed of with which the faulted lines and equipments can be disconnected. Now, what are the factors? The very first factor was that the transmission lines having some of the adjacent tie lines, and these adjacent tie lines affect the strength of the transmission networks. So that also affect the transient stability. Another thing is that the characteristics of the generating units, okay, including inertia, they are different for the all the cases. Now, for the different, including the inertia of inertia constant or inertia of rotating parts and the electrical properties, then they are affecting the differently to the transient stability. The speed of it which the faulted lines or equipments can be disconnected is this way. Now there are two methods, one numerical integration method to calculate these stabilities. The very first method is the Euler's method and second is the Runge-Kutta method. Let's talk about this Euler's method and the Runge-Kutta method. In the Euler's method, using the first derivation of the initial point, the next point is obtained as x1p is equal to x naught plus dx1 dt into delta t, and the step t1 is equal to t naught plus delta t. Now using this x1p dx by dt at x1p equal to f of x1 plus t1 x1p. This is a function of what t1 and x1p. Now we corrected the values. We correct the values now. Now what is the corrected value? This x1p is equal to x naught plus dx by dt x naught plus dx by dt x1p upon 2 into delta t. Delta t is a deviation, is a small deviation in the time period. Similarly, if we would like to calculate for the xc I plus 1 for a generalized parameter, then it will be equal to I x plus 1c equal to I x1 sorry xi plus dx by dt xi plus dx by dt x of t minus 1 or r minus 1 into p upon 2 into delta t. Now how to use this numerical solution for same equation? Now for let's consider the input power is Pm is constant and at steady state the Pe is equal to Pm. Now this del naught is equal to sine inverse of what? Pm upon P1 max, where P1 max is what? Ev upon x1, where E is the generated EMF at the sending end and V is the voltage at the terminal end at the receiving end, and x1 is the reactance of the transmission line from which the power flows from E to sending end to the receiving end. And we know that at the synchronous speed this delta omega naught is equal to 0. The stream 2 max is equal to what? E mod into V mod upon x square. Now the sync equation can be written like this, that h upon pi f naught into d2 del by dt square is equal to pa, it is equal to pm minus p, as this d2 del by dt square is equal to pi f naught upon h pm minus p2 max sin del equal to pi f naught upon h into pa. Now this d del by dt is equal to what? D delta omega. Now if when I substitute this delta omega, I will be writing that is equal to d delta omega upon dt equal to pi f naught upon h into pa, which is equal to d2 del by dt square. And now applying this modified Euler's method to the above equations, the t1 is equal to t naught plus delta t. That is the principal time component plus the deviation time component is equal to what? Giving me the next value of the time period. Now when I substitute such type of values and equate this delta naught into this, then I will be getting the delta I minus 1 into p, delta I minus 1 in p equal to delta I plus d del by dt at what? At the frequency delta omega I. Okay, at omega I frequency speed, sorry, at the delta I omega speed and into delta t. Now I can write this equation as similarly the delta omega I minus I plus 1 P equal to delta omega I plus G delta omega upon dt at what? At an angle of delta I into delta T. Now in this way we have applied the modified Euler's method to solve this above equation. Now the derivations at the end of the interval will give me what? It will give me like this, that d del by dt into delta omega I plus 1 p equal to what? Delta omega I plus 1 p. Now we can rewrite this equation by substituting the values of what? D del by dt delta omega upon dt at what? Angle delta I plus 1 p and equal to what? Pi f naught upon h into pa at angle delta I upon I plus 1 into p. Now, if I correct these values, substitute the above values in the previous equations, the corrected value will be what? Delta I plus 1 into sub c equal to what? The initial value of delta I plus this deviation. That is your d del by dt into delta I1 plus delta d delta by dt into delta omega I plus 1 in p upon 2 into delta t. In this way, we will be getting the first corrected value for the what? Or if I substitute these values of I is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on, I will be getting the corrected values accordingly. Similarly, the delta omega I plus 1 c is equal to what? Delta omega I plus d delta by dt plus d delta omega by dt into at what values? The delta I and delta I plus 1 locations. Okay. Therefore, now look at this. I hope you understand this concept.
Fault currents are equal, they are same. So that's why I can write it this equation that IFA naught is equal to IFA1 is equal to IFA2. So therefore from figure A, B, C, from these figures A, B and C, I can write that ZZ naught is equal to VA naught upon IA naught equal to minus 3ZN, which is equal to J 0.105. Okay, and finally the fault current can be calculated by substituting these values. Okay, that is by substituting these values into this. This is what? This is your ZZ naught, this is your Zn, and this is your Z1 and Z2. Is this clear? I hope this is clear to you. So it is giving me the fault current at this one. So you can see that the positive sequence fault current and the negative sequence fault, zero sequence fault currents are exactly the same in the single line to ground fault. Okay, now let's discuss about the MCQs. In the next session, we will discuss about the line to line faults. The very first question is said that a single line to ground fault occurs on a three-phase isolated neutral system with a line to neutral voltage of VKV. The potentials on a healthy phases rise to a value equal to root 2 V volts kV, root 2 VKV, sorry 3 VKV or 1 by root 3 kV. Okay. Next question is that if all the sequence voltages at the fault point in a power system are equal, then the fault is what? This is very simple. If all the sequence voltages of the fault point in a power system are equal, then a fault is what? Is it symmetrical or unsymmetrical? Try to solve it. I've given you the hint. Then the zero sequence current of a generator for a line to ground fault, that is for the single line to ground fault, is been given to you. The current through the neutral during the fault will be what? Just in the previous slide, we have discussed this thing. So you can solve it very easily. Try to solve it. We will discuss it in the next session. The fourth question is the severity of a line to ground and the three-phase faults at the terminal of an unloaded synchronous generator is to be same. If the terminal voltage is given, that is 1 per unit, that is Z1 and impedance is the positive and negative impedances are also given, which are equal to 0.1 per unit, and the zero sequence impedance is also given, that is J 0.05 for an alternator. Then the required inductive reactance for neutral grounding is what? This is very simple. You just need to clarify for the two of the cases. Okay, this question is very simple. You just need to focus on one point, that is you have to find out the equation for the line to ground fault and equation for the three phase faults. Okay, once you have the equations, you can easily identify then what will be the x2, that is the xn we can say. Okay, or we can say the zn has to be calculated. Is this clear? I have given you the hint. You try to solve it out. The most frequently occurring fault in the power system is what? The most frequently occurring faults. Remember this thing, that most of the faults occur frequently in the distribution systems. And in the distribution systems, the fault occur due to the short circuit between the two transmission lines, due to the falling of the trees, due to the birds, or due to the rainy seasons and various other factors, due to the breaking of the line, breakage of the line conductor and various others. So the most of the faults occur in the distribution side, and they are maximum category is the line to ground fault. So correct answer is line to ground fault. In the sixth question, it has been said in which type of the faults all the three phase components IA, IA0, IA1 and IA2 are equal, and IA0. All or these are equal. In which type of faults? The currents are equal. It is none other than the line to ground fault. Now, when a line to ground fault occurs, the current in the faulted phase is 100 amperes. The zero sequence circuit current in this case will be what? The line to ground fault current is given. The zero sequence current has been asked. It is very easy. It is very equal. That is your IA naught is equal to what? Remember the equation which I have told you. It is with terms of 3. Okay. It is what equal to? It is equal to IF upon 3. Okay. Now, in the eighth question, in which type of fault positive sequence and negative sequence voltages are equal? This we will discuss it later, next section, when we will discuss about the line-to-line faults. Now, for the fault analysis in power system, the symmetrical components are used because the results are required in terms of symmetrical components. Not necessary. Not necessary. Sequence network do not have mutual coupling. Not necessary. Number of equations become smaller. It's also not necessary, and all of those. Results are required. We do not require the results to be in symmetrical components. So yes, it is the yes, but it makes the easy calculations to get the results in symmetrical components. We will discuss it. I'm leaving it up to you. Choose the correct one from the given statement. There is a minimum sequence voltage and maximum negative sequence voltages at fault point. Zero and negative sequence voltages at maximum at fault point towards the neutral. The zero sequence and negative sequence voltages are minimum at the fault point and increases towards the neutral. And option D is none of the above. So discuss among yourselves about these 10 MCQs, and then we will see in the